thank you for joining me today, boys and girls, for our shared reading lesson. I am so happy that you're going to be reading and following along with Mrs. Bradley as we look at both of the texts we have recently read, Far From Home and Going to School. So let's get started with our lesson today as we go through Unit 2, Module B, Lesson 11. Good writers understand that experiences can be compared and contrasted. We are going to look at how two writers share key details to support a main topic or central message. We are also going to look at ways the children's experiences in these texts are alike and different. In this lesson, we are going to read to figure out the main topic or the central message for each text. Our learning intention for today says, we are learning to use key details and illustrations in text to demonstrate knowledge of the main ideas and central message. Our success criteria says, you will be successful when you can identify the main topic and central message, understand a story's central message, use text features to learn about a topic, locate key information in a text, identify information from pictures, and tell how information is connected. We are going to be reading parts from the story Far From Home, written and illustrated by Sue Pickford, and also from the story Going to School, written by Margaret Klein, Rachel Griffiths, and Cynthia Benjamin. We'll read pages 10 through 16 of Far From Home and pages 3 through 9 of Going to School. Be sure to follow along with me as I read. At recess, Brian wanted to play basketball. No one was allowed to play. Everyone had to exercise instead. At lunchtime, Brian was hungry. He couldn't use the chopsticks properly, so he invented another way. It worked just as well. After lunch, Brian had to learn a new sport. It was called Kung Fu. He found it hard. He kept falling over. The other children helped Brian. Then he started to enjoy it. Boys and girls, I noticed we had a highlighted word in our text. Did you see the highlighted word? The word enjoy means to take pleasure in something, to like something. The last lesson of the day was painting. Brian had never used ink before. He was trying hard, but then he spilled ink over his paper. Tal helped him clean it up. The teacher called Brian to the front of the class. Brian thought he would be scolded. Instead, he was awarded a sticker. His painting said the word friend in Chinese. Soon it was time to go home. Brian gave his painting to Tal as a present. He waved goodbye to his new friend. He had enjoyed the first day of his new school. He couldn't wait until tomorrow. Now we're going to read some from Going to School. And I see, boys and girls, this is a table of contents that normally comes in informational books. And we can use a table of contents to help us find information quickly. And I noticed that on the table of contents, I have each of the students that we have read about, and also it tells me the different countries that they came from. So if I wanted to find information about a particular student, I could go down and find the country. Let's say I wanted to find more about Russia. then I could go and it tells me the page number is 16. So instead of having to look through the whole book, I could just go to page 16. Let's continue our reading. Schools around the world. Children in many places around the world go to school. They learn to read and write. They do math. They study the history and customs of their countries. They have recess too. The children in this book go to school in 9 different countries around the world. Their schools are very different in many ways. Some are large schools in busy cities. Others are small schools in villages and towns. In some areas, students walk to school. In others, they go by bus, train, or car. Some even go on snowmobiles. No matter how they get there, however, students around the world go to school for the same reason. They go to learn. Afghanistan. 9-year-old Maria goes to a school for girls in Kabul, a city in Afghanistan. For many years, girls in Afghanistan weren't allowed to go to school. In 2002, however, a new government was formed. Now girls have schools of their own. And then I see there are 2 illustrations there on the page. Our first illustration has a caption that reads, "It takes Maria 30 minutes to walk to school." And then the bottom illustration has a caption that reads, "Students sit on a rug during class." Maria wants to become a teacher when she grows up, so she studies hard in school. Her favorite subject is Dari. This is one of the languages spoken in Afghanistan. Maria and her friends have fun at school. At recess, they enjoy jumping rope. Maria's favorite recess sport is soccer. And then I see we have more illustrations on our page. The top illustration says, "This is Maria's name written in Dari." So that would be her name in Dari. The next illustration says, "Students at recess." So there they are at their recess. And then our bottom 2 illustrations, this one says, "Students at Maria's school wear uniforms." And then we have this one here and it says, "Maria's schoolwork." This is Maria's math book. Maria writes in Dari. Dari is read from right to left. Boys and girls, I noticed that we had another highlighted word in the text, and that tells me we have a new vocabulary word. The word subject is an area of knowledge that is being studied in school. So like in our elementary school, we study math, reading, social studies, science, and we even have some specials like music, STEAM, and PE, and even library. Australia. Rosita is 8 years old and goes to school in Bidjadanga, a small community in northern Australia. Her community is more than 100 miles from the nearest town. And then I see we have more illustrations and captions. This says Rosita's school, Rosita's center with her best friends Jessica, left, and Carla, right. Rosita doesn't wear shoes to school. The weather is hot and dry, so Rosita goes barefoot all the time. And then I see we have an illustration at the top of the page, and this one says, "This road leads to Rosita's school." Rosita is an Aboriginal Australian. Aboriginal people have lived in Australia for more than 40,000 years. 5 different Aboriginal languages are spoken in Bidjadanga. Rosita's school day begins at 8 o'clock in the morning. Her classes include reading, drawing, and math. At recess, she loves playing basketball and hide and seek with her friends. And then I see we have another illustration and caption at the bottom that says, Rosita's schoolwork. In these notebooks, Rosita writes about what she learns in class. Her class has been reading a story about clowns at the circus. And now we've come to the part of our lesson where we need to check our reading understanding for the day with some comprehension questions. This would be a great place to pause the video while you get your pencil and paper ready so that you can write your answers down to share with your teacher later. Also, remember, boys and girls, you can pause the video at any time after I read the question to allow yourself time to write your answers down. Our first question says, what do children in China, Afghanistan, and Australia do during recess? So think about both texts and write down what you heard or what you saw the children do at recess. Our next question says, how is recess in these places similar? So how is their recess the same as our recess? Our last question says, in what ways are Brian, Maria, and Rosita similar? So how are Brian, Maria, and Rosita the same? In what ways are these children different? So think about ways that they are different and write your answers down. Remember, you can always pause the video to write your answer down. And now we've come to the part of our lesson where we'll do our writing activity for your journal today. Let's find out what our writing prompt says today. In today's journal writing activity, you will need to reread the draft that you made yesterday with your revisions and edits. Be sure to carefully check for mistakes you may have made in spelling, capitalization, or punctuation. Then carefully copy your sentences on a new journal page in your very best handwriting, making sure to allow spaces between your words. This will be your published work. Our published work is always our very best work and the one that we will share with our readers. So today what we're going to do is look back at the 2 sentences that we've been working on this week. You're going to rewrite those sentences in your very best handwriting on a new journal page, making sure that you check for your capitalization and your punctuation, and also make sure that we are doing this in our very best handwriting, because our published work should always be our very best work. Wow, boys and girls, we just finished that lesson, and I am sure you did an amazing job. But let's check our learning intentions and success criteria to see how we did today. Our learning intention said, we are learning to use key details and illustrations in text to demonstrate knowledge of the main ideas and central message. Now let's go in and check and see how successful we were. Our success criteria says you will be successful when you can identify the main topic and central message, and we know that is what it's mostly about. And we're learning about different schools, so we're going to check that one. Understand the story's central message, which is what the author wants us to learn. And we decided that he wants us to learn about the different schools in different countries, so we'll check that one. Use text features to learn about a topic. So we also learned about the table of contents today that'll help us locate information quickly in an informational text. So we're going to go ahead and check that one. Locate information in the text. So I know that we can use that table of contents again to help us find information quickly. So I'm going to check that one. Identify information from pictures, so we can use our illustrations to help us find our answers. And tell how information is connected. And today, in our questions, we were learning how children in different countries are the same and different from us. So we're going to check that one too. Wow, you guys did another amazing job. I'm so proud of you, first grade. And now it's time to end our lesson. Thank you so much for joining me for your shared reading time again today. But remember, while we're apart, Mrs. Bradley wants you to practice that reading at least 20 minutes every day by yourself. Because just like Mrs. Bradley says, practice makes us better. Have an amazing day, first grade. Until next time, see you later.